The first time she bled into our ritual circle, I thought it was symbolic, not a fucking curse. I met Serena at an open mic night in Echo Park. She wore all black, velvet skirt, lace gloves, a silk scarf twisted into her hair like a halo of night, and read a poem about a man who died because of a Taurus moon. My boyfriend Theo couldn't take his eyes off her. That should have been my first clue. Instead, I clapped like the rest of the room. I even smiled when Theo leaned over and whispered, "She's intense, huh?" 3 weeks later, she was living in our guest room. She'd just gotten out of a chaotic twin flame unraveling, her words, and needed a place to stay during the lunar retrograde. I was into crystals, moon baths, and even had a shared horoscope calendar with Theo. I thought, why not? A little pearl power, some witchy bonding. Serena was magnetic. Her energy made you feel like you were chosen. Every sentence she spoke sounded like prophecy. Theo started staying up with her past midnight, sipping moon-charged wine and talking about Saturn returns and past lives. I walked in on them once, huddled together on the floor, candlelight flickering between them, their foreheads nearly touching. Theo laughed it off. "She's just showing me how to release ancestral shame," he said. 2 days later, I found my candle stash melted into a heart shape on the back patio. My journal, the one I kept locked in my nightstand, was wide open on our kitchen counter, pages marked with dried hibiscus petals. "Serena needed inspiration," Theo explained. "She says your words are powerful." That night, during the new moon, she asked if I wanted to do a bonding ritual for loyalty and divine clarity. She handed me a tiny silver dagger and asked me to prick my finger. Theo didn't blink. We lit sage, we circled hands, we whispered vows into jars of honey. I didn't realize until later that Serena never cut herself. The next morning, Theo kissed me on the cheek like always, but when I looked at our shared horoscope calendar on the fridge, all his star transits had been crossed out and replaced with mine. And someone had scribbled next to the full moon, "Karmic collision. Choose who you're loyal to." I should have said something. I should have kicked her out. Instead, I let it slide. 2 weeks later, Serena brought home a psychic. Not the cute palm reader kind. This woman was ancient, veiled in purple gauze, and refused to sit on any furniture that wasn't cleansed. She stared at me without blinking and said, "You were never meant to survive this union. He is your karmic debt." I thought she meant Theo, but she kept looking at Serena. Serena just smiled, her eyes glittering like she'd swallowed starlight. Later that night, Theo started sleeping in his studio again. He said he needed space to channel some chaotic masculine energy without bleeding into our sacred feminine flow. I didn't know what the hell that meant. But the day after that, Serena handed me a birth chart she'd printed. Theo's, circled in red ink, Aries Mars, Scorpio Moon. She whispered, "He's teetering onto betrayal. If we don't seal him now, he'll stray." Seal him? I asked what that meant. She didn't answer. That night, during the lunar eclipse, she took me to the roof and had me chant mantras over a burning dish of his cologne, hair clippings, and the socks he always wore during sex. Theo never knew. I thought I was saving us. The next morning, his demeanor shifted. Colder, distant. He looked at me like I was someone he couldn't remember dating. But Serena? He hung on her every word. She started wearing his hoodie around the house. She started cooking breakfast for just the two of them. I was becoming the guest. Until last Tuesday, I came home early from a sound bath and found them in the living room, cross-legged, facing each other. A dark red thread tied their wrists together. In the center, a candle burning with Theo's name carved into it. She looked up at me, completely calm, and said, "It's done. He's chosen. Theo wouldn't meet my eyes. I backed out of the room, grabbed my phone, and called the only person who might believe me, Theo's older sister, Marcella, who once said Serena gave her the creeps. Marcella answered on the first ring. "I was waiting for this," she said. "Check your inbox. I just forwarded you a video. It's from a ritual, from before you and Theo even met." My blood ran cold. I opened the email, hit play. There was Serena, standing in a circle of candles, holding a Polaroid of me. And then she said my name, first and last, and whispered something I'll never forget. Let her fall for him. Let her bind herself to him. And when the moon returns to blood, let him break her. And then she sliced the photo in half. I dropped the phone. Literally. It hit the tile and slid under the kitchen island while my hands just hovered in the air, like my body forgot how to function. I stood there, frozen, watching the after image of Serena slicing my photo linger on the screen of my mind. That ritual wasn't recent. Marcella's email said it was 3 years ago, which means Serena knew who I was before I met Theo, before the open mic night, before the twin flame unraveling bullshit. She didn't just randomly enter our lives, she orchestrated it from the start. My hands were shaking so hard I had to kneel to retrieve my phone. The video still played in a loop. I forced myself to rewatch it, catching every word. Serena's chant wasn't vague. It was precise, intentional. Like she wasn't casting a spell, she was scheduling an execution. And it worked, because now I saw it clearly. Theo hadn't fallen for her. He was tethered to her. I remembered the thread on their wrists, the flame with his name, the incense that made me dizzy, the honey jars, the full moons. I wanted to scream, cry, burn something, but instead I marched back into the living room. They were still there, still tied together. Serena smiled at me like I was an uninvited guest at my own wedding. "I'm sorry you had to see that," she said, "but this is part of the karmic return. You've served your purpose." Theo wouldn't even look at me. "Are you just gonna sit there and let her, enslave you?" I snapped. He blinked. "She's not enslaving me. She's freeing me." That hit harder than anything, because I believed him. It was like something inside him shifted, like he wasn't just under a spell, he wanted to be. He looked at Serena like she was the sun, and I was just some passing shadow. That night, I left. I packed a duffel, took my car, and drove to Marcella's. She opened the door with a mug of herbal tea in one hand and a deck of tarot cards in the other. "You look like you've seen death," she said. I collapsed into her arms. We stayed up all night watching old videos, ones Theo had filmed back when we were happy, laughing, dancing, planning a road trip to Oregon. And in every single clip, Marcella pointed out the same thing. Serena was in the background, always. At a gas station, at a cafe, once even at the farmer's market, pretending to look at avocados. It wasn't stalking, it was placement. She had inserted herself into our timeline like a parasite with purpose. Marcella handed me a tarot card from the deck. "Pick one," she said. I pulled the Two of Swords. "Indecision, duality, hidden truths," she whispered. "You're standing between two fates. One is self-destruction, the other is retaliation." I chose the second one. The next day, I returned home, but not to reconcile. I acted calm, collected, said I just needed to grab my laptop and a few things I'd forgotten. Serena let me in without a word. Theo stayed in the bedroom, muttering something about fasting for lunar clarity. I didn't go to the bedroom. I went to the garage, because Theo kept everything in there. Old journals, USB drives, boxes labeled sacred archives. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. Maybe a clue, a piece of the spell, anything I could use. And I found it. In a box labeled Saturn work. A printed stack of calendar screenshots, our shared astrology calendar. Except these versions weren't public. They had annotations. Every single full moon was marked with a ritual plan. January, lock desire. February, open jealousy. March, sever ties. April, transfer loyalty. April was when Theo started sleeping in his studio. May was when he stopped touching me. June was when Serena moved in. And next to July's full moon, circled in red, reversal, let her go, seal the break. That's in 3 days. I grabbed the stack and backed out quietly. But before I made it to the front door, Serena was standing there, barefoot, eyes closed, humming. "You shouldn't have looked," she whispered. Then she opened her eyes, and they were pitch black. Not figuratively, not poetically, literally. Her pupils had swallowed everything. She raised her hand and said, "You have 3 days to accept your freedom. If you try to interfere, we'll accelerate the timeline." What the fuck does that mean? But she just smiled, and then she said it. The ritual was real, but the pain, that's still optional. I ran. I drove back to Marcella's, heart pounding out of my ribs. But when I walked in, she wasn't alone. Marcella was sitting at her kitchen table, clutching her phone. Across from her was someone I hadn't seen in years. Theo's ex, the one who vanished after college, the one who used to read tarot for him. She looked up and said, "So, you're the next one. Poor thing." I couldn't speak. Theo's ex, Marla, sat there like she'd been waiting for me this entire time. Same dark waves, same silver hoops, same calm, eerie presence I'd seen once before in a tagged photo from 2016 before she ghosted the internet completely. "You don't know what you're in," she said, folding her hands like a priestess mid-sermon. "But I do." Marcella pushed a mug toward me, something herbal, of course, but I ignored it. "You were with Theo in college," I said. "What happened between you two?" Marla didn't flinch. "I tried to save him." My laugh cracked in my throat. "Save him? From what?" "Her," she said. And then, like a bad horror flick, she reached into her purse and pulled out the exact same red-threaded ritual bracelet I saw on Theo's wrist just days ago. Frayed at the edges, stained with wax. "She did it to me first," Marla said, "back in 2017. But it didn't work, not fully. I knew astrology. I knew protection rituals. I snapped the bind halfway through, but I had to vanish to avoid the karmic backlash." "Karmic backlash?" I repeated. "You make it sound like Serena's a cult leader?" "She's not a cult leader," Marla said softly. "She's a karmic anchor." "What the hell does that mean?" Marcella chimed in, pulling up a bookmarked website on her phone. "Binding rituals and energetic enslavement." "She doesn't steal boyfriends," Marcella read. "She hijacks spiritual timelines. She uses astrology and trauma bonding to insert herself into people's destinies. She feeds on devotion like a parasite." "She chose Theo," Marla added, "just like she chose me, and now you." I froze. "What do you mean, me?" "You weren't some innocent bystander," Marla said. "Serena marked you years ago. You were the vessel she needed. That ritual you watched on video, that wasn't just about breaking you. That was about using your love to amplify her control over him." "Because I believed in it?" I whispered. She nodded. "Belief is energy, and Serena doesn't cast spells. She uses yours against you." I couldn't breathe. Marcella pulled a notebook from her drawer, her own grim little grimoire. "I've been tracking Serena's patterns," she said. "Every guy she latches onto, there's always a third energy she siphons through. Always someone who falls first. That was you. Marla was one before." "She pushed me to the edge," Marla said. "I was hospitalized. People called it a breakdown. They didn't know she'd buried a poppet under my fucking mattress." "What do I do?" I asked, choking on the air between syllables. "There's only one way," Marcella said. "You have to break the ritual before the next full moon, before she completes the final lock." That's when Marla slid a paper toward me, an invitation, a ritual gathering, Serena's loyalty sealing ceremony, open to awakened initiates only. Date this Saturday, full moon, July 20th, 3 days away. It was happening at the place Serena always talked about, some woodland Airbnb she rented every eclipse season. "Break in," Marla said. "Disrupt the ceremony. Unbind him before the final flame." I stared at the paper like it might combust in my hands. "You want me to crash her spell party?" I said. "That sounds like a quick way to get hexed into the next dimension." "She's already hexing you," Marcella said. "You've been waking up at 3:33, right? Feeling watched? Random nosebleeds?" I blinked. "Because yes to all of it. She's tethering," Marla said. "If you wait, she won't just bind Theo, she'll break you. You'll be the emotional sacrifice." "Jesus Christ," I muttered. Marcella stood. "We have 2 days to prepare." That night, we crafted counter-ritual tools, protective oils, reversal sigils, obsidian talismans. Marla showed me how to trace my birth chart to find vulnerabilities Serena might be exploiting. Turns out, my Venus placement overlapped with Theo's Mars in exact opposition, a match made in chaos. "She chose you for your polarity," Marla said. "She's turning your love into a weapon." I didn't sleep that night, or the next. When the day came, we drove 2 hours upstate to the cabin. Deep pines, a clearing, moonlight already seeping through the clouds. We parked down the road, dressed in black. I had the counter-ritual kit in my backpack, my heart pounding like a war drum. As we crept up the hill, we could hear it, chanting, low, rhythmic, dozens of voices. A bonfire roared in the center of the clearing, and there they were. Serena, cloaked in deep red, with Theo kneeling before her, shirtless, hands bound, red thread tight around his wrist. His mouth moving with the chants, and surrounding them, 6 other couples, all bound, all chanting. Serena raised a dagger. I froze. Marla grabbed my hand. "You go now," she said, "or lose him forever." I stepped forward, heart in my throat, but before I could speak, Serena looked directly at me. She didn't look surprised. She looked thrilled, and then she said, "Perfect timing, love. We saved you a spot." I stood at the edge of the clearing, moonlight cutting through the trees like a blade. Serena's voice echoed in the night, lilting, musical, soaked in malice. "Come," she purred, "there's still time to choose your fate." The others, the bound couples, turned toward me in eerie unison. Their eyes were blank, lips still moving in synchronized chants. A shiver crawled up my spine like a spider. Theo didn't move. His head was bowed, hands still bound with the same crimson thread I'd once seen wrapped around Serena's own wrist. "Don't," Marla whispered from behind a tree. "She's baiting you." But I stepped forward. 1, 2, 3 paces. Serena opened her arms like a queen greeting a war bride. "I told you the pain was optional," she said. "You came for clarity, didn't you? Then stay. Watch." I clenched my fists. "Let him go." Serena tilted her head, amused. "He's not a prisoner, darling. He's a vessel, just like you were. We're finishing what we started." I stepped closer, ignoring the sharp crack of twigs underfoot. You orchestrated everything, the calendar, the rituals, even me. She smiled. Yes, and? The air went colder, the fire flared higher. I could see now that Theo's eyes were open, but unfocused, like he was sleepwalking through his own body, a puppet with cut strings. You said I had a choice, I said. You do, Serena replied. Join him, offer your loyalty, seal the bond. Or, she shrugged, watch him be repurposed. Repurposed? What the hell kind of word was that? Serena motioned to someone in the crowd. Another woman stepped forward, long, dark braids, glassy eyes, bare feet crunching pine needles. Her wrists already bore faint burn marks. Serena sliced the thread binding Theo's hands and immediately retie it to the new woman's. I screamed. Theo's body jerked, but he didn't resist, not even a twitch. That's not loyalty, I said. That's enslavement. Serena walked toward me, robes swishing, firelight casting wild shadows across her face. It's alignment, she hissed. Love bound in purpose. Do you know how rare it is to find energy as potent as his? My knees buckled, but I held. You lied to him. You manipulated all of us. You all volunteered, she said sweetly. You just didn't read the fine print. But that's okay. She raised a palm, and suddenly I couldn't move. Literally. My feet locked to the dirt, my breath seized in my chest. It felt like I was suspended in air while my soul was being scanned. Serena stepped closer, brushing my cheek. You're not here to save him, she whispered. You're here to anchor the final seal. From behind me, a voice shouted, Now! It was Marla. She sprinted into the clearing, flinging powder and oil in a wide arc, chanting in a forgotten tongue. The wind howled, the flames recoiled. Serena screamed, but not in fear, in rage. Everything exploded into chaos. One of the chanting couples fainted. 2 others started convulsing. Theo dropped to his knees, gasping like he'd been underwater for weeks. Marla tossed me a small obsidian dagger, etched with reversed symbols. Cut the thread, she yelled. I dove for Theo, slashing the red string between him and the girl. The moment the thread snapped, Theo collapsed into my arms. His eyes fluttered, confused, panicked. What? No time, I said. We have to go. But Serena wasn't done. She let out a guttural cry and tossed something into the fire. The flames turned black. Smoke poured out like it was alive, serpents of shadow slithering toward us. Theo couldn't walk. I half-dragged, half-carried him toward the trees, heart pounding so loud I couldn't hear anything else. Marla stayed behind, drawing a circle in salt around the fire. She's closing the gate, she screamed. Get him out now. I didn't argue. We burst through the tree line and into the dark woods, running blindly toward the road. Behind us, the clearing erupted in a sound like thunder and wind and screaming all at once. I didn't stop until we reached the car. Theo was dazed, shaking, but conscious. I shoved him into the passenger seat and peeled off down the mountain road. He sat in silence for 10 full minutes before whispering, She was in my dreams, every night, even before I met you. I thought she was you. I gripped the wheel. She made sure of that. I don't remember agreeing to anything, he said, but I wanted her. It didn't feel wrong. That's how she does it, I said. She doesn't force. She aligns. Makes you think you're choosing. Theo looked at me, haunted. Do you think it's over? I didn't answer, but in my bag, beneath the protective oils and broken thread, was a new calendar, marked in black ink, with a fresh note. August, Retrieval. We didn't go home. We didn't even go to Marcella's. I drove 6 hours south to a beachside motel in Big Sur, checking in under a fake name and paying in cash. I turned off Theo's phone, smashed mine. Theo slept for 2 days straight. When he woke up, he didn't remember most of the ceremony. He remembered flashes, the smell of burning honey, Serena's voice echoing in his skull, chanting while he floated, unmoored, like he wasn't inside his body. He remembered kissing someone, but didn't know who. He didn't remember me being there at all. I wanted to hate him, I really did. But as I watched him tremble, his eyes still red-rimmed from whatever spiritual chokehold Serena had him in, I realized he was a victim too. Still, that didn't mean I trusted him. Not fully. I kept the obsidian blade under my pillow. I kept salt across the motel doorway. And I kept waking up at 3:33 a.m., chest burning, heart pounding, like someone was still inside me, pulling a thread. On the third night, I woke to find Theo sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall. He was whispering. Not to me, to something. "The ritual wasn't complete," he mumbled. "She said the reversal creates a gap, that I need to bring her back, finish the seal." I froze. "Theo," I said slowly, "what are you talking about?" He turned to me. His eyes were glassy again. "I think she's inside me." I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, we found a note slipped under our door. No knock, no footsteps, no surveillance footage on the outdoor camera. Just a square of black paper etched in silver ink. "The bond remains. You can't destroy what you willingly offered. S." I grabbed the paper and threw it into the motel's fire pit, but that night, Theo disappeared. I woke up at dawn. His side of the bed was cold. No note, no shoes. His phone was still dead on the dresser. I ran outside barefoot, checking the cliffside path behind the motel, and that's when I saw it. Drawn into the sand in a massive spiral, a full ritual circle, complete with salt, lavender sprigs, and fresh blood in the center. I stumbled back, heart thundering. He hadn't just left, he'd participated. I called Marcella from a burner phone. She didn't even say hello, just, "I know, she's reconnected the tether." "How?" I screamed. "We broke the seal." "She changed the spell," Marcella said grimly. "Now it's not a loyalty bind, it's a retrieval ritual." "She's taking him back?" "No," she said, "she's bringing you to her." That stopped me cold. What? "She doesn't want him anymore," Marcella said. "She's already marked a new vessel. But you interrupted the final lock. You destabilized the timeline. She needs your energy to reassert control. She's going to use me? She already is." I went back to the motel room. Every mirror had cracked. Not shattered, cracked. Precisely geometrically, a spiral pattern etched into the glass like it had been carved with sound. My laptop was open. Someone had typed into a blank Word document. "Moon in Virgo, body remembers, soul forgets. You can still surrender willingly." And then, "Wouldn't it be easier to stop resisting?" I slammed the screen shut, but the burn was already back in my chest. I looked down. The skin over my heart had begun to blister, a circular welt the size of a silver dollar. The same pattern Serena drew in the salt circle. I screamed so hard I scared the couple in the next room. That night, Marcella drove down in person. She brought Marla. We lit a protection grid around the bed. We placed bay leaves under the mattress. We ate nothing we cooked ourselves. We stayed awake until sunrise. Still, Theo didn't return. Until the next night. He walked in, barefoot, soaking wet, like he'd crawled out of the goddamn ocean. His pupils were blown wide, his mouth moving in a whisper. I reached for the obsidian blade, but he dropped to his knees. "She's inside me," he gasped. "She's coming for you next." Marla acted fast. She bound his wrists in reversed thread, slipped a sigil under his tongue, anointed his temples with graveyard dirt and crushed pearl. Then she looked at me and said, "She's not done." I sat down, shaking. Then what the fuck do we do? Marcella didn't blink. "We give her what she wants." "No," I snapped. "Absolutely not." "She doesn't want Theo," Marla interrupted. "She wants the one who broke her cycle. You." I stood, backed away. "No, there's no way in hell I'm letting her possess me." "She won't possess you," Marcella said. "She wants to mirror you, invert your energy, repurpose your loyalty and pain into a new ritual anchor." "What the hell does that even mean?" "It means," she said slowly, "you need to bait her, pull her into the open, let her think she's winning. And then," Marla slid something across the table. It was a mirror, not a regular one, a black obsidian mirror, the kind used in scrying. "I hope you're ready," she said. "Ready for what?" Marcella answered. "To become your own ritual."
We began the next night. Marcella and Marla cleared the motel room, moved all electronics, reflective surfaces, even water glasses, anything that could act as a conduit. Serena had slipped in through reflections before. Now we were giving her one. On purpose. The obsidian mirror sat on the floor in a circle of salt and lavender. Theo, still bound, still dazed, lay on the bed, whispering to himself in fragments of Serena's voice. "She's still in the tide," he mumbled, watching, waiting for you to look first. "Don't meet her gaze until I say," Marcella warned me. "She'll try to bait you emotionally, twist memories, turn your own desires into entry points." Marla lit a black candle. "You'll see things that never happened, or did, but aren't yours. Don't speak unless you want to seal them in." I nodded, but my palms were already sweating. Theo began convulsing gently, like a puppet tugged at both ends. His eyes rolled back, blood trickled from his nose. "She's almost here," he mumbled. And then the candle blew out on its own. No wind, just snuffed. The room went still, and then the mirror turned black. Not from its surface, but like it absorbed the shadows around it. A ripple moved through the glass like something breathing on the other side. Then her voice. Not from Theo, not from the mirror. From inside me. "You always wanted to be chosen," Serena said. I froze. "You followed the stars. You chased the signs. You begged the cards for answers. I gave you one, and now you resent me for it?" Marcella muttered a chant, flicking oil across the mirror's rim. Serena laughed. "Darling, you wanted the ritual. You offered your blood, your vow, your will. You don't break a contract by pretending you didn't read it." I stood my ground. "You hijacked our lives. You manipulated him." "I aligned him," she snapped. "You were weak. You used love like a leash. I showed him how to burn." The mirrors shimmered, and then her face appeared. But not how I'd seen her before. Not beautiful, not glowing. She was me. Same eyes, same hair, same scar above the lip I got falling off a bike at 7. She was me. "You don't need saving," she whispered. "You need evolution." I turned to Marcella. "What do I do?" "She's entered the tether," Marcella said. "It's time. Say the reversal." I knelt in front of the mirror, blood pounding in my ears. I said the words we practiced. "I am the root. I am the mirror. I am the cut. I rescind what was borrowed. I reclaim what was bound. The mirror screamed. Yes, the glass screamed. Serena's voice splintered across octaves, breaking into animalistic howls and sobs and snarls. The mirror cracked cleanly, once, right down the middle. And then, quiet. For a second. Then Theo gasped, eyes snapping open, and vomited seawater. I ran to him. He blinked up at me, trembling. It's gone. She's gone. But Marcella didn't move. She stared at the mirror. Not gone, she murmured. Transmuted. I followed her eyes. The shards of the mirror still shimmered. And in the left piece, I saw my own reflection, but she blinked before I did. I jerked back. Did you see that? I whispered. Marcella nodded. She left a copy. Marla stepped in. It's a trap, a dormant echo. Don't engage. We finish the ceiling and bury it deep. We drove to an old grove Marla trusted, neutral ground, untouched ley lines. We wrapped the mirror in layers of silk, salt, and binding spells, sealed with beeswax and buried it under a yew tree. Marcella carved symbols into the bark: severance, nullification, closure. Theo didn't speak the whole ride, until we were almost back, and he whispered, "She's still tethered to someone." I looked at him. Who? He met my eyes. You'd think he'd say me, but he didn't. She has a child. Somewhere. Born from a ritual. Fed with energy from every bond she's broken. I nearly threw up. Did she say whose it was? Theo shook his head. She never said, but I saw it. In a vision, a little girl. With her eyes, your voice. No, I whispered. But deep down, in the part of me still echoing from the mirror's voice, I wasn't sure. Was it a curse? A prophecy? Or a seed? I didn't ask what happened next in the vision, because that night, as we finally lay in bed, exhausted and cracked open, Theo curled into me and said, "She's coming back. Not for me. Not for you. For the girl." And then the motel lights flickered. 3 times. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, eyes glued to the cracked motel ceiling, every muscle in my body tense like a bowstring. Theo slept fitfully beside me, mumbling in his dreams. I could still hear Serena's voice slithering through my brain, wrapping around my thoughts like ivy. She has a child. Those words replayed again and again, louder each time, until I couldn't tell if they were in my head or still coming from Theo's mouth. By sunrise, I wasn't even sure I existed outside of her anymore. I got up, walked to the motel bathroom, and turned on the light. It flickered. Of course it did. I looked in the mirror, half expecting to see her staring back. But it was just me, pale, hollow-eyed, burned out. My neck bore faint lines where her presence had threaded through me. My heart still throbbed from the phantom blister. I splashed cold water on my face. That's when I saw it. A mark. On my inner thigh, barely visible, like a birthmark I hadn't noticed before. But it wasn't a birthmark.
It was a sigil, a perfect circle intersected by lines of astrology glyphs, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and at the center, a crescent moon. My stomach flipped. I ran back to the bed and grabbed Marcella's protection book. I flipped through pages until I found it. Lunar seeding mark often appears in hosts post-ritual, indicates tethering not just of self, but of future lineage, may signify implanted legacy or intended vessel birth. Implanted legacy. She hadn't cursed me to destroy me. She'd used me to carry something. A spiritual parasite, a karmic sleeper. Theo woke up to me dry heaving on the bathroom floor. He knelt beside me. "It's not yours," he said quietly. "That's what she told me when she kissed my forehead. It belongs to the moon, not the mother." My jaw clenched. "You let her touch you?" "I didn't let her," he said, eyes dull with shame. "I invited her. That's how she bound it to you. Through me, through belief." My throat closed. I wanted to scream at him, hurt him, blame him, but what would that do? We were both caught in the aftermath of something we never understood. That's when Marla called. "Don't go outside," she said. "I've had dreams all night. She's not in the mirror anymore." "Where is she?" I asked, voice trembling. "Inside the ley lines," she said. "She's using the earth now, grounding into roots, preparing." "For what?" Silence. Then, the new moon. That was in 2 days. Marcella arrived hours later, grim-faced and out of breath. She threw her bag on the bed and said, "There's only one way to end this." I laughed bitterly. "Burn me alive?" "No," she said. "Finish what she started, on your terms." Marla nodded. "You have to complete the ritual she tried to hijack, anchor the bond, then reclaim it, redirect the energy, trap her inside it." "You want me to trap a psychic parasite inside a ritual I don't understand?" Marcella reached into her coat and pulled out the black obsidian mirror, the one we buried. It was whole, untouched. I stepped back. "What the fuck, Marcella?" "She let us bury it," she said. "She wanted us to think it was dormant, but it followed you, because the ritual was never broken. It just changed hosts." I collapsed onto the bed, chest heaving. "What happens if I don't do it?" Marla looked me dead in the eyes. "She finds another way, another vessel, another Theo, and the thing inside you grows, rooted, not physical, but emotional, a legacy of submission passed down through generations." I closed my eyes, and I knew it was always going to end like this. We drove to the desert that night, an empty stretch of salt flats, no tech, no trees, no mirrors, just stars and wind and dust. We carved the new circle by hand, not in salt, in blood. Mine. 3 drops on each cardinal point. I stood in the center, clutching the mirror. Marcella and Marla chanted outside the ring, voices low and ancient. Theo knelt beside me, silent, empty. The mirror warmed in my hands, then shimmered, and then she arrived. Not through the glass, through me. Her voice tore out of my throat like a scream swallowed sideways. "You think you've won?" she growled. "You were never supposed to last," I spat. "You were mine. Your loyalty fed me." "No," I said, raising the mirror to my face, and then I smashed it. The glass didn't shatter. It dissolved into light, into air, into me. The tether reversed. I screamed as the energy flooded back. Every ritual, every touch, every lie, every chant, I inhaled it, made it mine. I collapsed. When I woke up, the desert was silent. The mirror was gone. Theo was crying, softly, kneeling beside me. "She's gone," he said. "You consumed her." "No," I whispered. "I buried her. Inside the part of me that believed. The part of me that still wanted to be chosen." It's been 6 months. We moved to a new city, changed our names, burned our charts. Theo doesn't talk about the rituals anymore. He's quiet, different, calmer. But sometimes, at night, he flinches in his sleep. I don't dream anymore. But last week, my period was late. And when I finally bled, it was silver. The doctor said it was nothing, just stress. But when I walked past a mirror in the clinic hallway, my reflection didn't follow me right away. It watched, and then smiled. Afterward, can you weaponize astrology or just fear?